Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker Broadcast. My guest this week is Rosalia Lazzara-Tilley, and Ros is back onto the podcast talking about what's happened to her in the past sort of 12 months. She's been a previous guest back in 2021, episode 12. She was a guest. She then came back on episode 62. So it was just natural for us to be able to catch up and sort of see what's going on. Married, rebranded a business, got a podcast going on. So loads of things to talk about, loads of things going on. So let's just get Ros onto the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. So welcome to the podcast, Ros. How are you?
Hi, Craig. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. I should have said welcome back for the third time to the podcast, Ros, because we were just talking then before we hit record, just July 21, May 22, and then this will go out sort of like March 23. So yeah, you just literally, I think you must be sort of apart from Ash. I think you must be the first person that's been back on for the hat trick. So welcome back.
I'm honoured. Thank you. Wow. I'm not surprised that I have so much to talk about. I was going to say, I'm really shocked, but no, I'm not shocked at all that there's always something new that I've got to talk about. So I'm glad that it entertains you and hopefully your listeners as well.
It does. No, it absolutely does. And I think, like I said, when I look back at the notes from last time in the podcast and sort of seeing how much like the world's changed from a mortgage broker point of view, the world's changed from a digital marketing point of view. Your world's changed, my world's changed. It's good to just have this sort of annual catch-up, go, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, what sort of, but yeah, obviously we will provide more like purposeful and meaningful content for people that listen and subscribe, but we've just got so much to talk about because since we last spoke, marriage, rebrand, podcast, you're doing your own podcast now. So yeah, like loads going on to talk about. So first of all, that marriage went, everything with the wedding looked awesome from what I saw on social, everything. I know it seemed like a lifetime ago now from that point of view, but for you,
Yes. Oh yeah, it was an absolute dream. But the business was still fairly new at the time, right? It was still only like a year old. And to then have this massive wedding in the middle of it. And, it felt like I was like leaving my baby at home for like a month because I had the wedding. I took a whole month off. I had the wedding and then I had the honeymoon. And then when I got back, I had to like wash all the clothes. So, I didn't actually want to go straight back to work. But it was just amazing. It was an absolute dream. The family was over the moon. It was the first wedding we've had in the family for years and years and years and years. So it really brought everyone together because we did it in Sicily, where I'm from. So we got married in the church where I was baptized, where my parents were married, where my brother was baptized as well. So it was, the whole community was there. Apparently the mayor of the town came over and he was like, wow, what an honor. I was like, wow, it's great. I mean, it's not a Meghan and Harry wedding, but it was really important for the town. It was really beautiful for them to think, wow, this girl who left this little town, this little village in Sicily, gone for bigger, brighter things, in the UK, and now has come back in our very own village to bring us this, what was an honor. So we brought them a lot of tourists, and it was just amazing. Yeah.
I know, but it's just amazing that the whole community, like when I'm listening to that, obviously I'm hearing this for the first time when you talk about, I've seen the photographs, I've seen everything that they post, but like in terms of from a community point of view, like you say, you baptized there and then gone away and then come back to celebrate another, like a massive sort of milestone and thing in your life, then they must be absolutely thrilled that, like, so not from a tourist point of view, but also just from a point of view of tradition, I'm guessing, and sort of
yeah. Well, we gave them a lot of business because everything that I did was local. So all the flowers, all the catering, like everything we did was just local. Like there was very few things that I bought from like Etsy or Amazon. Everything else was like from the local town.
Right.
And yeah, so we really did involve the whole city in the wedding as well. Everything from like hiring cars to entertainment and all that kind of stuff. And I was actually standing at the altar when, when everyone's like leaving the church and, you're married. And a nun came up to me whilst I was standing there, and she was like, "Oh, your name is in the register. Like, we baptized you, and bring your children here when you have kids." I was like, "I'm at the altar, mate. Like, give me a chance. Like, I'm literally standing at the altar. Talk about talk about what's next." So I was like, yeah, all right, I'll bring my kids back here in the future. So that'd be super lovely to be able to do that. So
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, give myself some time first of all. I'm at the altar. I need to,
I
there's certain things that happen. Yeah.
There's a picture of me talking to her, and she's I was like, yeah, this is the story she was telling me. She was telling me to have kids right there and then, basically. So yeah. Anyway, steady, all in good time.
Probably not the most appropriate moment to talk about
No.
and worry about them sort of things.
Yeah, I couldn't say no to her because yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, the pictures looked amazing, and I'm just glad that everything went according to plan and really sort of like you've got happy. Like as soon as you're talking about it, I can see from your face. Obviously, the podcast, but we do the video as well. I can see from your face that sort of like the elation that you've got. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was so good. It was lovely.
Definitely. So then you came back, and then rebrand. Was that rebrand after you got married? Was that that happened then? Yes.
Yeah, so I purposely paused it because I didn't want to, it's a big emotional thing to tackle as well, to rebrand your business, because I was having to do it properly, obviously, but also saying goodbye to the old brand and trying to fit in this new look that I wanted for the business. So I just wanted to get the wedding out the way and then come back and work with a graphic designer. And I hired like a third party. So, everyone needs a doctor, right? Even doctors have to go to other doctors. They don't self-diagnose or, self-operate, right? Because they wouldn't be able to. So I kind of needed someone else to look at me and listen to me, because most days I spend obviously listening to advisors about what they want with their brand and how they want to appear. And I was like, I want this. I was like, I want someone to do this to me. So you can't coach yourself, can you, really?
No.
You just can't bring yourself to that. So I had to find someone that could talk the way I talk, or that could coach me the way like I coach people. So yeah, I found this phenomenal girl. Sorry, my cat's just walked into
Perfect timing.
My cat's just walked into the picture.
Oh wow.
Oh,
He was it? Did you say was it?
she's getting a little bit jealous because she wants to see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah,
but
exactly. She's very beautiful though, so I'll give you that.
She's my little baby. Yeah, so I hired this beautiful, larger than life, beautiful girl called Jojo. And it's all like, she, her brand called Creative Sass. So it's all like being sassy. And, I wanted someone non-industry related because I wanted to just bring something different. So, so we spent quite a bit of time together with the graphic designer and designing, how I wanted the brand to look. And then, now since then, it's been, website, photos, new social media pictures, new email address, trying to transfer everything from the old to the new. Oh my God, it's been so stressful, that part, because you don't want to lose files, you don't want to lose clients. And so that bit has been a challenge, which brings me on to, another novelty since we last met is this new concept. So when we met, I was a startup, right? I was starting a business. I think I'm now in the phase of scaling and actually running the operations just to make it a bit more slick and a bit more, how do you call it? Yeah, it's not just me anymore, basically. So what I'm trying to say is I've had to hire people. So there's the whole new element of running a business that I'm exploring, which is, delegating, managing people. And well, that's fun, isn't it? So that part to it that I didn't sign up to, but have to do. Yeah, so there's been all that going on.
And the thing is, I'm listening to you thinking, well, you did choose to rebrand, Ros. So that wasn't something that was, you did choose to do that.
And it's been, most of it has been fun. Like 99% of it has all been so much fun. It's just the mechanics of like, oh, okay, now I need to, I don't want to lose all my emails. I don't want to lose all my files. So I've had to hire like a virtual assistant. I've had to hire someone that can actually help me, do all that digital admin that I call it, the digital admin side of things, whilst I keep my cash flow going and whilst I keep looking after my customers. I can't take time off just to sort out my inbox. I just have to manage it all together. And it's been, it's been a learning curve. Yeah, definitely.
But the thing is, like, I'm sure, like, you're there talking about it, you still have got a smile on your face in terms of the challenges that you face. So you're not sort of starting, like, with steam coming out of your ears. It's a case of, like you say, it is learn, isn't it? So there's certain things that you didn't sign up for, which you're learning part of. And I think that's sort of amazing that you are. I'm just trying to picture, like, in my mind, thinking I can just see you leading from the front with this sort of bit of entourage going on behind you, sort of thinking, and all these people sort of within the, but that's awesome. Like, in terms of how you at that stage now, was scaling always part of something? You always knew that you would get to this stage?
Right. So let's talk about entrepreneurship and being a business owner, because I imagine the majority of your listeners, if they're self-employed, they understand where I'm coming from here. So when I was like 10 years ago, when I was exposed to the world of personal development, and I read one of my first books that I read in that space was The Secret. And then I read, I think it's called Dare to Dream, Work to Live, or something like that. Okay. But it just basically opened up my mind to, hold on, there's more to life than just going to work for a paycheck, right? And I was in my early 20s, which is nothing these days, when you see the likes of like Stephen Bartlett becoming a millionaire at 23 or 26, however he was. So for me, what I'm trying to say, that spark of entrepreneurship within me consciously woke up when I was around 23, 24, 25. Even though my mum and my family say it's always been there, I just thought I had to just go to work. So when I was doing all my projects and projecting what the future me would look like and what me as a business owner would look like, I just thought it was about, yachts, mansions, and that entrepreneurs were all rich and that entrepreneurs were all like big CEOs and operating massive companies. So I always visualized like being that person. And then as I grew older and actually started playing at, having a business, because this is not my first rodeo. This is not the first time I've tried to launch a business. This is one that worked, but all the others haven't. I then just realized, no, I don't want to chase that life. I don't want to just become a big chief just because I want that title. No, I don't want that title. I don't want the title for title's sake. And I've got a headache managing myself, let alone managing like thousands of people in my business. I couldn't imagine. And the fame, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want fame. I absolutely don't know how I could be someone like Stephen Bartlett or Karen Brady or Oprah. These people I absolutely am fascinated by and really admire. But then I just don't know how they deal with all that. So now I'm like, what does scaling look like? If it's not more and bigger, then how do I scale? So yeah, that's the phase I'm in working it out, which is actually, how do I maintain the lifestyle I've currently got, which is I can go to yoga in the middle of the day whenever I want, right? Or in the evening. I'm currently enrolled in a 3-day weightlifting program where on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday lunchtime, which I would have never been able to do in a full-time job. But if I was running a massive corporate company, I still wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm just like, how do I maintain my lifestyle, popping into, Granny's to see if she needs any shopping, all that kind of stuff, and still scale. So that story is still yet to be told. Maybe this could be episode 2024 when I come back to you next year. Yeah. What I have done in terms of scaling short term, so something that I have been able to do today is I knew I wanted to work with less clients, right? This is more boutique, more bespoke, more personalized. So I had to up my prices, and that was it. That was one strategy: up my prices, but obviously add insane amounts of value to that one person that I was working with. So of course, year one, I just had to get as many clients as possible. So I was a lot cheaper, and I was trying to work with more people just to get experience, awareness, and to just bring cash flow into the business, and to get testimonials and reviews, and to get a concept actually, made up. So I'm always grateful to the first people that saw me, believed in me, and just took a punt on me and were like, actually, I'm her first. And so I can shape the future of what this will look like. So today I'm working with much fewer people, repeat clients, and ones that just need a little bit more hand holding and more guidance. So that's one way of scaling. And then the second is giving myself more thought leadership tasks, like going to events and speaking. I don't know if you've seen, I've done like a few speaking engagements at FSE, for example. I'm on a lot of podcasts. I'm doing my work in schools. And in order for me to be able to do that as a personal brand, I've had to hire in the background. So video editors, a virtual assistant, a videographer, photographer. So anyone who can actually deliver, the technical bits of what I offer my clients.
I think there's so much stuff going on in my head here that I'm meant to make notes, because I'm thinking
So that was a really long answer.
there's too many things sort of going in. And the first thing that sort of, there's a few things on there that, and I think I followed Stephen Bartlett for quite some time, sort of seeing him for like I said, for quite some time. Other people that I would sort of see as deemed as successful, and I went through the same. I do sort of really understand what you're talking about, because I went through that same thing of, when you first set your firm up, you're thinking, well, I'm a business owner now, and this is what you look at these people thinking, they're at these sort of levels. This is, like you say, the cars, the houses, the boats, that's what success looks like. When actually it's not. Success is whatever success means to you, and your success will look different to my success, to then and that's why you can never, like I sort of talk about, never comparing yourself, because actually what success looks like for you, the things you're talking about there, of doing the personal stuff as well, of dropping shopping off and doing the weight and all those sorts of things, is success. And it's not until, it's funny, I like where I live, I work from home. I've got an office in my garden, so I'm so lucky from that. And I do the journey now and again that I used to do as an employed, down the A19, down the A1, down the M1, traveling the sort of the 80 miles, and I did that journey the other day, and I just thought to myself, that's, to me, success now is not I don't have to do
I
that
feel
anymore.
you. Yeah.
I don't have to get in my car. Don't get me wrong, I'm still up early. I'm still in my office, like first thing, what I would call first thing in the morning, which would be, some people would class it as insane. Some people would think normality. Some people would say I was late. But I think it's not until you then look back and think, actually, yeah, I used to do this every single day. I used to do this 80 mile there, 80 miles back, doing that trip, and then thinking, but like success now for me, like you say, it's not about that. Like you're sort of saying that it's not about those big shiny things. It's about the life. And that's one thing that I underlined there, is you said there was lifestyle. And that's the thing that's important to you, and is important to most people that are self-employed, running their own firms. And I think there is more people realizing that now, Ros, even more, that success just looks totally different to what success looked like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, however many years ago.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm just getting emotional because
I didn't mean to do that. I'm really sorry. I
no.
wasn't expecting.
Oh my God, no, it's not you. I don't think I just think it's like, I've written about this in like my notebooks. like you know, the lifestyle that I'm living right now is what I used to write about, like when you're journaling and you're setting your goals. And then I found that book and was like, oh my God, like I'm actually doing it. Like I'm actually, it says something like, I've got the freedom to, go out for a coffee with my mum if I want to in the middle of the day, or, I can wake up at whatever time I want and, do. So sometimes it's just, the reason I'm getting emotional is because, obviously I'm proud, I'm happy, but you just don't realize what you've got in front of you. And I think many people that are running a business maybe don't actually take stock in like really appreciating how far they've actually come, because we're always being, even like the nun, saying what's next, right? We're always looking at what's next. And I've had that same kind of situation. So that was me at the altar at the happiest moment in my life, marrying like my, my best mate. And then when I came off the stage at FSE, and it was euphoric, I'd bought a new dress. I'd just been, presenting on stage. And then I came off stage and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that was me. Like, I can't believe I just did that. And then the first question I got asked was, oh, is it just you, Ros, like in the business? I was like, well, I am the brand, but obviously there's people in the background, like you said, like the entourage. I was like, yeah, there's people that work for me. And he's like, yeah, but how's that going to be sustainable? How are you going to build that? How are you going to raise it? What happens if you can't? And I think what he was trying to get at is like, what happens when you become a mom? What happens when you, and I just thought, actually, I just want to enjoy this moment. Like, I just want to be staying still, because the reason I'm getting emotional is because I just don't want life to change. Like right now, life is really, really good. And I'm scared of like, my family's all healthy. My house is, great. I'm great. Business is great. And actually, things can knock you. And we just have to just take stock for what we have and just be really proud that wherever you are, that you've made it this far. Like if you've got one mortgage client, fine, one. If you've got one, you can do 10. If you can do 10, you can do 100, but just don't lose sight of the 10 that you did and the 100 that you did, because there's always a next. So yeah, it was just really nice to kind of reflect on that moment. So thank you.
No, and I think people, and I think it's easy, like you say, because we're in a world of what's next, like what's like, and that it's not something that we take time to reflect on in terms of what we've achieved today, never mind this week, this month, this year, last year. And I think, like you said there about journaling, I do journal, and I think it's just important because then that they're always there. You can always look back on them, like you say, and think, wow, like when, like, and
Yeah.
we, and that then does become realization even more, because the things that we recall from memory are generally not 100% true. Like they're just not. They will have a different sort of take on it or a different thought on it. But if you've got your journal and then you're looking at that thing, actually that's how I felt at that moment, and that was my goal. That's what I wanted to achieve. And you're reflecting on that, you will be present in the moment, because you are like, you understand where you've come from, kind of thing. Yes, you at that moment when you are reviewing and reflecting, you're not thinking about what's next. You're not thinking about that. You're thinking actually where you were. And that's just, even if you just take 10 minutes out just to review and reflect on it, it's just such a game-changing thing for me. And I felt that when I started to do this even more, is that, and they're always there. Like I've got like I know exactly where these journals are. They last for 6 months.
Yeah.
I've got so many years of being self-employed, about coming up for 6 years now. So there will be 12 books in there, and just flicking back and thinking, wow, and even thinking about what was going on in your head at the time, because obviously you've
Yeah.
got your feelings in there as well, and thinking, wow, and you will go through that same thing in 2 years' time, a year's time, 5 years, whenever you get the look at the journals again, you will go through that same emotional state, because then you've moved on even further. And like you say, and I get what you're saying is like you just want everything to pause and stand still and things like
Yeah,
that. And I get that, and it is, and the realization for you that actually you do want to press pause. Everything is so good right now. You will sort of slowly move forward, shall we say? But I'd only ever sort of truly naturally just sort of pause it there and then. But you will
no,
then. It's just then a little bit more of a tiny, tiny improvements from there, which is amazing because that's the thing is that's what all you want to look at is the tiny things that you want to change. Now you've got that foundation. If you want to press pause on your life and your business, the foundations are solid. Like you are
yeah,
on solid foundations. So when you do take your finger off the pause button and it does move forward, it will just be tiny things you wanting to move, which is the whole point because society life tells you we need to be monumental. We need to have a massive, massive
yeah.
changes. And you don't need to be that way. It's
I
just
know.
looking
I
at
think
tiny things.
I agree with you, Craig, because I feel like people don't celebrate this, or like because there's people like Stephen Bartlett and people that achieve, like Greta Thunberg. Like we're not all Gretas and we're not all Stephen, right? And I feel like that's the only time that maybe the external, what's it called, the external recognition is given to those who have like these monumental and massive milestones that they achieve. And it's almost like, what, a six-figure business? Phew, what's that? Six-figure business, that's tiny. And it's like, do you know what it takes to make six figures, right? Do you know what it takes to replace my BDM income that I was on? So where I was at the time, my lifestyle, and for anyone listening to the show that doesn't know, and I used to be a business development manager for a master broker and then became a BDM for a lender. So I've been in financial services for 7 years, and my income was growing. I don't mind sharing this, but you go from like a 25K BDM to a 45K BDM plus all the other fancy pantsy stuff around it, like the car and the phone and, some autonomy, like, oh, you can work from home for one day. You're like, whoa, like, that was the goal, right? Because you could walk, you could wake up just 5 minutes later. So those were the milestones that I was achieving as a BDM, and I got to that top end level. I could have gone even in the pandemic. I could have gone for an 80K role if I wanted to, and that was the test from the universe, which was, are you chasing that next paycheck? Are you chasing that salary? Are you chasing that status? But when I lost that status, so when in the middle of a pandemic, there was someone knocking on my door with a mask, gloves, and they came around to just collect my car key from the BMW that was sitting on my drive and not used for 6 months. They came to collect my laptop, phone, everything, and not to mention my paycheck was cut. So that's really when you realize, like, actually, how do I want to rebuild this skyscraper? How do I want to rebuild? And if it's not a skyscraper, how do I want to rebuild this bungalow? It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to start from there. That it actually, the biggest milestone for me was, how do I go back to maintenance? How do I maintain this mortgage, these bills, right? It was easy to not have to maintain my lifestyle because it was lockdown, so I didn't need to go out and do my nails and hair and go on holiday. So that was easy to cut back on that. But that was first step one, is, wow, I've replaced the salary that I was on. I've now generated that myself with my business. Okay, wow, that's a milestone. Then the next milestone was, wow, I've doubled my income. I'm earning more now than I used to as a BDM. Wow, well, that's amazing. And now it's like, okay, now I'm working more flexibly and earning more. Wow, that feels really good. And I know that I'm still playing very small, Craig, right? I know I'm playing it small. I'm playing it safe. I know people think, wow, she's so brave and she's doing this. And I'm like, I don't even think I've shown my true potential yet. I know I'm downplaying it. And I know I'm strategically growing organically and steadily, when I could have got a massive loan and debt on my property, hired a bunch of staff and said, look, we're big. Look at us. We've got an eight. Like, I could have just made us look big, but I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it with, I don't know. It's hard to explain how I'm doing it, but it's just more about like I'm generating it, I'm manifesting it, I'm driving the opportunities, I'm not buying the opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I think does make total sense. And I think that, like I said before, it's clear that it's on solid foundation. So you're not building this on a sort of some like say quick thing, like you say, remortgaging the house, getting loads of debt, thinking, right, look, we're massive already, kind of thing, because they tend to fall. The quicker they grow, the quicker they fall down. That's exactly how I always sort of look at it. But I think you're right. And it does make total sense, because people, everybody looks at it in terms of replacing income. That when you go self-employed, you will look at it and go, how quickly can I, so whatever you was earning, if you was earning 20, you was earning 30, 80, 100, doesn't really matter. It does, like I say, it doesn't really matter what you've used to earning. You're used to earning what you used to earning, and your lifestyle will be around that income. So and that tends to be the first goal of any, particularly self-employed mortgage broker, anybody going self-employed, it tends to be the case of, okay, that's what I earned in my employed business, or in my employed role, doesn't really matter what it was. Is then now, how quickly can I get to that? And a lot of people are okay once you get to that. I know loads of brokers that once they've got to that level, they're okay, because then the next goal is then the lifestyle. So the first one is the income. And like you say, you've got loads of clients at the start off. It's about cash flow. It's about generating income. So you got to that point, and then it's a case of, well, you can then slow the lifestyle then becomes important. So then you maintain the income, and then your lifestyle comes, and then the income then comes with the lifestyle. That tends to how it works. Is sort of lifestyle's down here, if this makes sense. Income's here. So we get to that income goal. Once we've achieved that, is then the lifestyle then starts to come on. Then is sort of then, once you've got that lifestyle, so well, lifestyle can then build, income then builds, and you get to that point where it's like, I've got the lifestyle and I've got the income. And that to me is success. And that's however that looks for you in terms of lifestyle and income. And that's the beauty. So I know I 100% get to where you're at. And then that thing is that's okay, because that's okay for you, because that's what you wanted to. And I think people, like I say, when you look at what it takes to get a business off the ground, the first goal is keep the doors open, for make sure that, and you was honest there, you've sort of said that this is the first one that you've got traction with, and you've built, kind of thing. You've gone through that painful times in the past where you've set things up and they've not gone to plan, not worked out, and that makes it mean even more to you, because you've seen what it might. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's making sure that you're making this work, because you've learned from the things that haven't gone so well, that you've learned from, not failures, because that's quite a strong word, but things that haven't gone so well in the past. You will have learned from that.
Yeah. And I've learned from, I've progressed by quitting. Quitting is not often labeled as it's for losers. Quitting is for losers. I absolutely disagree, because when something is toxic and someone's in a bad relationship, would you say to them, stay, don't quit? No, you tell them to leave and walk out that door. And that goes the same for, a subject you don't like at school, a course that you're enrolled in at university. Why should you stick it out for 3-4 years? With that burden on your shoulders? If you don't like it, quit. If you don't like it, absolutely quit. Because what I often say, or how I reframed that, it's all about reframing. The way I reframed it was, I'm only quitting this. I'm not quitting the dream. So you can still get to that destination. You can still get to that dream. The way you get there is just different. So I was never afraid of quitting. When I found myself in the wrong job, I quit. I didn't care that people would be like, oh, that looks bad on your CV, because I'm building my career, right? I'm not just building a piece of paper. I'm building my brand. And that was when I didn't even know I was building a brand. I didn't, this is all self-taught, how I've been building a brand. I say, for example, in financial services, I've been building a business for 2 years, but I was always building a brand for at least 7 years, and I didn't even know I was doing that. And that's what stuck, So 7 years ago, maybe more now, maybe it's close to 9, to be honest, entering the financial services industry, I had no idea what a loan to value was. And I didn't have a property at the time. And let alone not knowing what a loan to value was, I was asked to sell bridging, like
Right.
bridging and development and commercial. And I was like, I don't even have a house. Like, how am I? So that's where it started. And it was all about personal branding, because I had to help people believe in me. I had to, sell myself, and the product came with me. The product changed, or, the company I was working for changed, but I remained the constant. I was the same one, the same person throughout it all. So yeah, I just think quitting is to be encouraged, as long as you're still progressing and still replacing whatever you quit with something else that you can use to work towards your goals. Then yeah, absolutely. And failure, actually, yeah, failures are lessons, aren't they? That's not something I've made up. It's something that has been reframed over and over again. Those lessons helped me understand what I like about myself today, how I see myself as a business owner, what my skills are, what my strengths are, and what actually I need to outsource and hire for. So yeah, everything has got me to where I am here. And when we were talking about scaling, I don't know what the next chapter looks like, because I've never been there. How can I tell you how I'm going to scale my business? I have no idea. No idea.
Is that not exciting?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I never knew I could get myself to this point. I never, you visualize things, but actually leave space for that, for the spontaneous side as well. Some of these opportunities are better than you ever imagined, and you need to leave space for that. And that's something I wasn't so good at in my early personal development days, is that I thought a goal was a target, and that if it didn't look like that, and if I didn't achieve it like that, it was a failure. And I wouldn't be able to recognize that the setbacks became my comebacks. I couldn't recognize that what I'd originally set myself as a goal ended up turning out better than I'd originally planned. Because that sometimes happens. You set yourself a goal, and then actually something better comes along. You're like, yeah, this is better than what I had originally planned. So yeah, I'll take that. So yeah, I'm just open to that progress. And yeah, like I say, progress, not perfection. That's how I'm scaling, basically. How can I move forward, and how can I be better than I was yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you 100% about the quitting thing, because I would never, is like you say, quitting seen as quitting for losers. You don't quit, like do not quit, and things like that. And it's not about it's not about quitting. Like you said, if you're in a relationship, if like you're doing something like college, like it's university, then it's not about quitting. Quitting is about not wasting time. It's like not got much. So reframing it as you're not wasting your time. It's not quitting. You just value your time more, because actually you don't want to be in that relationship, or you don't want to be doing that college course. You don't want to be with that employee. You don't want to be doing that role. It's not quitting. You're just making a choice for your life, and then looking at, well, I need to make these changes because you value your time more than somebody else does. That's
Exactly.
just how it is. So talk about podcasts. So you've got your own podcast going on now.
Yes, yes. So that is something that I delayed for loads of different excuses, lots of excuses. They're not reasons, they're excuses. But I actually am glad I did delay it, because I knew, and I spoke about this with Ash, like in my early days, we would have our catch-ups, and he's one of the people that massively encouraged me to just take that leap. And when I was in transition between like the job and going self-employed, and obviously I always knew podcast would be a phenomenal thought leadership piece of asset to have in your business, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do it on. I was like, I don't want to do like another mortgage marketing podcast, because to be fair, I listen to Ash's anyway, so I don't want to just be another person who does that. I genuinely did not know what I wanted to talk about. So I just didn't do one. And then it wasn't until there was a post on LinkedIn. I'd been playing with this idea, but the universe, if you want to call it that way, kind of gave me proof. And there was a post on LinkedIn about this. There was a mortgage broker kind of ranting. It was a bit of a rant about how there's just not enough women faces out there on social media, and that there's not enough women speakers, and there's no female podcasts being run by people in the industry. Obviously, you've got yourself, you've got Ash, you've got Gary Das, you've got even Andy Montlake. You've got, like, apart from there's the mortgage mum, there's Kim McGinley. There are some female faces out there, but just maybe not as many. Anyway, I was tagged in this post, and it was like, surely, Ros, you can do something about this. It was like, surely it has to be you. Like, no one else can do this, surely. And I just thought, do you know what, actually? It is something I've been thinking of, and it feels separate. I don't know if you've ever read a book called Big Magic.
I know, I've not read that, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the reason I mentioned this book, Big Magic, is because it's very suited to creators, even if you are a content creator or an artist or a shoe designer or any type of creator, right? And often when you have a talent like that, or what started out as a hobby, and it turns into an income generating job, right? You lose that spark. The magic goes away from that, because you've now put all this pressure on your art. You used to just be a really good, like, designer, and now you're trying to make money from becoming a designer, and you lose passion and hope and motivation because it's really hard. And so I didn't want to start a podcast that was supposed to make me money. Like, I didn't want that to happen. So I wanted to start something where I was giving back to the community of the financial services industry, and create a platform where if the women are missing, right, if there's not enough women out there, well, then I'll create a safe space for them to come along and just talk. That's it. That's all it is. It's just a platform. It's a virtual stage. It's a digital stage to represent more women. So it's called The Money Honey. And The Money Honey brings together women in property, finance, and construction, all of which are the industries that I have been in. I've been in construction. Obviously, I don't have like a massive property portfolio, but I'm in the portfolio. I'm in the property world. My parents have properties, so I kind of understand, like, the industry, and obviously finance. So I interview women from all backgrounds, all levels, all different titles, all different stages in their life and their journey within the industry. And they just come on board and talk about what they're working on, what they're doing, how the industry for them looks, where can we find support. There's been some phenomenal speakers that have come on board talking about, diversity and inclusion, and how they're helping any entrant into the industry feel more integrated and feel more accepted. So it's basically a platform that you can tune into and feel like, when they say, I want to be surrounded by like-minded people, well, they're there. They're literally on this podcast, right? So, yeah, so if you know any female speakers, or not speakers, but, females in the industry that want to practice being heard, this is a safe place to practice.
Absolutely. And I'm lucky enough that I do work with quite a few females within my firm. So as in from CS point of view, there is, I'll probably say we've got about 50-50 mix in there in terms of females. I'm married to a financial advisor, and she's female. So just clarify that as well. So, so
awesome.
But yeah, I think, like you say, it's not doing something like this is not doing this. Like, and I get exactly where you're at, and we have to give Ash a bit of recognition from both of his point of view then, in terms of giving you the product. He certainly gave me the prod to do this and to the podcast, because I thought the same, like, well, why nobody's going to listen to me? Like, why do I? And it wasn't, and this still now, and I get other firm owners ask me, sort of, what do you get out of the podcast? What income do you get out of that? I said, well, no, I'm not going to retire on an income that a podcast generates, because it's the purpose of it is not that. It's just a platform that I get to meet some amazing people and try and educate the self-employed mortgage broker world that's out there. So mine is very niche in terms of from that point of view. But you don't. It's not. You just do it because you enjoy doing it. It takes a bit of time once you get up and running. You're doing it, but fair play to you. Absolutely, you've had some amazing guests on there, and I've really sort of listened to them, and you've had some sort of real great, and you're just giving that platform for people that may not necessarily, who might just need because they might need to put like a pod and a portion that, come on, do this, come on, let's do this. And there are people out there that I get them like, well, I want to be on the podcast, But then other people thinking they'd be great guests, but you just got to keep pushing, going, come on, you can do it, kind of thing. So
I had this one person who I invited to come along, and she said something like, "Oh no, I'm not there yet," or something. No one. I've got nothing. Oh, that was it. I've got nothing interesting to say. And I just thought, what a sad thing to think about yourself like that. That's just, you don't have to be some explosive guest to make an impact, because actually, if we're all explosive and we're all dynamic and we're all loud and whatever, then not everyone can relate to us, right? So we need a representation from everybody, anyone who's shy, nervous, anyone who's had that like kind of rocky career. Like, we want to hear about that as well, because you could just be that person that changes that listener's life. It might just take for you to be that guest, not to change the world, not to change a million lives, but that one person who's listening to you, who thought that they too don't have anything valuable worth saying, could have just listened to you, and you could have just made that person's day. And that's, I think, what the responsibility we all have, not only as business owners, but as content creators, because we're all content creators, right? Just some of us have it as a job title and the rest of us just do it. But you're a content creator. We're all content creators. And if you're putting something out there on social media, you're changing the world, right? You are changing it. And I know you may not be, Kim Kardashian, or, you don't need to be, right? To be an influencer, you don't need to be Kim Kardashian, because what you say and how you say it and what you put out there in the world, you are influencing the people that are following you. So that's how I'm very conscious about kind of the content that I put out there and how I portray it, because I have a social responsibility to make the social media world a better place. Like, I want someone to scroll through and say, that post has helped, not has made me feel worse about myself.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's why the podcast is important. And we want, and by the way, we don't just interview women. So far, we've only been interviewing women, but we are also interested in interviewing men who are running companies and teams with diversity, who are prioritizing diversity and inclusion, who are passionate about equality. Because let's think about it. These men are also raising daughters. These men are married to wives. And this is not like, by the way, the Money Honey is not like a hate on men type of podcast. We love men. And in fact, one of the guests spoke about her co-director being the biggest advocate. He is a huge advocate for diversity and inclusion, for many areas, for disabilities, for ethnic minorities, for women, everything. So we are looking for both male and female speakers. Of course, we want to bring them both to light, but the reason the podcast is more heavily towards women is because in order to gain that equality, we have to kind of like tilt the scales a little bit, and then we'll regain the balance.
Definitely. No, I totally agree. And like I say, I've listened, but it's not a sort of hate men kind of podcast going on. So thanks for sort of, you didn't need to clarify that, but I get I get where you're going from.
Yeah, you need to be on the table. Like, we all, in order for you guys to understand us and for us to understand you and for us to like work together, we have to be on the same table and we have to listen to each other. And that's the space I'm slowly trying to create, and that kind of environment. So if you want to check it out, it's on Spotify as The Money Honey. And also I upload the videos on LinkedIn and YouTube too. So feel free to check it out.
Excellent. So Ross, sort of 50 minutes in, and it's just been amazing to chat to you, just to catch up, and so appreciate your honesty and just to, like, in terms of where you've been and looking at sort of not so much and how comfortable you are with you now and your success and where you're at. So it's just been great to just listen to you and listen to you sort of portray your journey that you've had over a period of time. So since we last caught up and before that kind of thing. So Ross, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's been amazing.
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.